Hello, and welcome to the East Africa Business Podcast. I'm Sam Floy, and I'm now based from Kenya, having explored the business environment across the region at the end of 2016, primarily through the use of this podcast, and deciding, for me at least, that it was the best one to live and work from. This episode, and the others in the archive, are all about showcasing startups and organisations who are playing their part in helping East Africa develop and grow. And by following along, you too can hear their stories. For now though, let's enjoy the rest of this funky intro music, and then get started with the episode.
One of the growing international product categories is goods made from coconuts. The health and taste benefits of coconut oil and coconut milk have caused a rise in demand for these types of product. In Kenya, hundreds of thousands of coconuts are grown each year, and yet up until a few years ago, they were not processed into these high-value goods. In this episode, I talk with Sakina from Kentaste, Kenya's first coconut good producer. We discuss the process of making these coconut products from their coastal factory, knocking on doors at supermarkets to get listed and then paid, and how to use coconut oil with your dog. As a consumer of Kentaste products, which is part of the reason why I wanted to go and interview them, I can also say that it is really good stuff. In any case, I hope you enjoy this packed interview with Sakina about all things coconuts. Cool. So we're here today with Sakina from Kentaste. Sakina, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So just to get us started, can you tell us a bit about you and a bit about Kentaste?
So I manage the sales and marketing at Kentaste. Kentaste started officially production in 2012. We do primarily coconut products. We have coconut oil, coconut milk, and coconut cream. I got introduced to the company 2.5 years ago, so I'm fairly new still and kind of learning the industry. But so far, everything, it's been an amazing journey so far, learning about coconuts, and I'd never thought it would be something that I would do or be interested in. But yeah.
Cool. So you basically take coconuts and turn them into coconut products?
Yes. So we have a number of registered farmers with our company, and they exclusively source the coconuts and supply them to us. We have like different collection points up and down the coast. Pick up the coconuts, take them to the factory, and then have like different kind of processes step by step in how to finally get the end products. So we basically, for milk and cream, we kind of grate the coconut into like really fine, what we call like desiccated, kind of like flakes, and then basically just squeeze out the milk and then put that in cans and sell it. And for the oil, kind of the same, we put it through like an expelling machine that kind of like dries it to some degree, and then just squeeze out the oil and package it and sell it.
Easy peasy. And just to clarify, all of these farms are in Kenya?
Yes, all of them in Kenya, north part of the coast.
Okay. So how many farmers do you have?
So we have 500 registered farmers for Kentaste, and we have our sister company that's located in Uganda, where they do primarily just organic coconut oil, and we have 1,500 farmers registered with that company. So a total probably like, we'll say 2,000 farmers.
Out of interest, which came first, the Kentaste or the sister company?
I would it both started, they started doing, almost started at the same time, but one was primarily just for export and the other one was retail. But at that time, it was two separate companies. And then just a year ago, did we decide to kind of come together and just to increase our capacity, because the one in Uganda does just oil. And then we decided to have Kentaste focus on milk and cream, and then kind of bring those two together.
Got it. Mm-hmm. And so if you've got a coconut, do you basically have a choice of we're either going to do oil or we're going to do milk and cream?
Exactly. So we can have, once, if you decide to make milk or cream, you only do that, or oil. You can't make both, because like the drying process is what makes the difference. Like there's a certain way, like you for the coconut oil, you can't turn it into the flakes. If you do it that way, there's no way of getting the oil, because the bits are like too small to actually expel anything from it. So once you have a coconut, you decide I'm either going to make milk and cream or oil with it.
How do you decide?
Normally it's just on demand. We monitor everything from the demand from the customers. If like you find you have more orders for milk and cream, you just assign a lot more coconuts for the milk and cream production and less for oil, or vice versa.
I mean, do they make similar amounts of money?
Honestly, no. I would say the oil definitely makes higher margins for the oil. Definitely, yes. Milk and cream is coconut products is a very it's looked at as a luxury product. It's not something that people would want in their lives day to day and go like buying milk or flour or stuff like that. It's a very luxury product, and the coconut has a very distinctive taste that is not very pleasant for everyone. So, but the oil, on the other hand, is like extremely healthy. It has very many like nutritional values and stuff like that. People use it for cooking, skin and hair and all that, and would prefer to spend money on that rather than the milk and cream, which only people would buy just to kind of add flavor to their food and not necessarily for the nutrition.
I see. So when you talk about the demand side of things, so how do people buy the products? Are they do they come directly? Are they sold through shops? So
we do retail. We are listed in all major supermarkets in Kenya. We supply to the supermarkets, and then customers buy from the supermarket. We do have customers who would prefer to buy huge volumes directly from us because it's cheaper, but primarily retail. We sell to the supermarkets, and then customers just go and buy from the major supermarkets. Yeah.
And is it a tough sell when you go to the supermarkets, or is it quite? Yeah.
It is. Okay, it makes our work easier because in that way the distribution channels are kind of minimized. You just supply to one supermarket and they kind of send the product out to their different outlets, and we don't have to worry about the logistics of doing that. So it's easier in that aspect. The only challenge comes in getting paid. We have set credit terms with different supermarkets, but they always don't keep to their word, and it becomes challenging. That's the main challenge, I would say, working with supermarkets. Okay. Yeah.
So that basically means you deliver them a pallet of coconut oil, and they say we'll pay you in
60 days, and it ends up being 120 or
I see
however long. Yeah.
So I mean, how do you come?
That's the main thing we've had to try to find ways of getting. So the biggest problem I would say is cash flows with this kind of business. Working retail, you supply to all these customers and then just hope and pray that they have all their accounting in order and pay you in good time. But if you don't, then you're basically just on your own and have to figure out how to survive. Because at the end of the day, that's where most of the sales come from. So when the order comes in, they pay eventually. So that's the only reason we keep supplying to them, because they're guaranteed that they will pay you. It will take time, but it's guaranteed that they will pay you. So we try and just figure out ways of how we can come up with even through more investment companies or companies that offer discount facilities and stuff like that, which is not an ideal scenario, but when you don't have another option, go for that. Yeah.
Okay. So the payment side of it is tough. Which was your first sort of big contract, or was there a particular customer where you were it took you a while to win them over?
I would say it's fairly difficult to get your product listed in any supermarket. You have to go through so many channels and different people. Well, I'll explain to you the process. So you go to a supermarket and you tell them that you have this range of products and you want them listed, and they'll say, okay, fine, I'll call you someone who deals with that department of whatever, if it's food or clothes or whatever it is. You meet with the people, you have a discussion, they'll ask for your price list, you'll give them your samples of the different ranges that you have, and then just kind of sit and wait to hear. You just like you have to be a little more aggressive and like constantly calling and making sure that because sometimes you do that, they forget about it, and then unless you follow up, it's really tough to get somebody to pay attention. Yeah.
So, I mean, have you found a way of getting attention? Do you find that you have every week we're going to call the same person, or do you...
Basically, that's what we do.
Yeah.
You just have to maintain a relationship with these people. Just make sure that you go and visit them every week without fail.
Go to visit them, so you go to the office.
Go to the office.
Yeah. So you go to. So let's say you've got 5 supermarkets.
Mm-hmm. You will set aside every single day and say, today I'm going to go to Nakumat, tomorrow I'm going to go to Chandarana, tomorrow I'm going to go to Tuskys. Because if you don't make these frequent visits, they almost like kind of forget about you and your product.
So I mean, are you there going knocking on the door and saying, hello, it's me again? Or
basically, yeah, that's basically what you do. Just show up and say, I was here yesterday. Have you had a chance to go through my proposal or whatever it was? Like, even like after you're already listed, there's so many things that come up after that where you want to partner with them in certain activities. Like if you're doing marketing activities or stuff like that, you still have to constantly be there with them every single week, or else if you don't reach out to them, they won't reach out to you.
See, mm-hmm. So let's say a new supermarket comes up in Kenya, mm-hmm. and they're just like the others, mm-hmm. and you're thinking, okay, we want to get Kentaste products in the supermarket. Mm-hmm. You're saying that how long roughly, obviously each one's different, roughly how long would it take to then get the product listed? So what the stage is, they've got to be listed, and then mm-hmm. listed means that they're on the shelf.
Listed, so they take it in, and then once it's confirmed that they tell you that we've listed your product, give you an LPO for you to go and deliver.
An LPO?
Which is basically just an order.
Okay.
Yeah, so they give you an order, and then that's when like everything is confirmed. You sign a contract with like credit terms and all that, and then once they give you the first order, that's when you know you're in guarantee.
Cool. So when you say listed, that means they've signed a piece of paper to say
that we will distribute, or we will put your product on our shelves.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then is there usually like a trial period, or do they sort of say, well, we'll do the first order for X and we'll see how sales go, or are they usually like, if it's good, it's good, let's get you on the shelf? Yeah,
basic. So they take the samples and I think kind of see if it's a product that people actually need, and then once it's listed, they'll give you your first order. And I mean, I'm not sure how it works in terms of like what kind of product you're supplying, but I would imagine that with coconut products, like I said, because it's such a luxury product, they wouldn't necessarily give you a really big order the first time. They'll kind of test it out and see how it goes, and if sales are moving, then the orders just keep coming more frequent. But if the products are just sitting on the shelves, you have to wait to get those orders, and if they don't come in, then either you have to work on your marketing and try to get people to come and buy the product, or it's just not good enough and people don't like it, and then you have to pull it out. But they won't be the ones to tell you that this doesn't work and we're not gonna
I see.
Put this on the shelf.
You'll just notice that.
You'll just exactly like the orders are not coming, and exactly.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Kind. Do you have any idea who the sort of typical demographic of your customer?
Yes, I would say for I would say primarily middle to upper class, mostly women. Especially for the oil, because it's food grade, but you can also use it as cosmetic. So a lot more women, young women, older mothers, because you can use it for babies and on their skin. So I'd say primarily women and middle to upper class.
I see. Mm-hmm. And how do you know that? Do you just do you have any numbers on this? Is it sort of...
We do. I mean, when we do our research, right, we have, we put systems in place to where you can kind of monitor these things. Some of the supermarkets do give you this information. because you have like customers who have like loyalty cards to supermarkets that has all your details, and as you go to Nakumat, you'll use your Nakumat card and it'll grab your details and it knows everything that you've purchased. So from that, we can tell like this female of this age bought your oil, or that's one of the ways. Two, we participate in a lot of exhibitions. So during the exhibitions, we hand out like questionnaires and try to get feedback directly from the consumers, like what they use it for, how often do they buy it, or where do they buy it from, and all these things.
So with the Nakamat example, so again, is that something where you're knocking on their door saying, "Tell us who uses our product"?
Yes, it's definitely not easy. It's not free. You have to pay for it.
Like,
yeah, they wouldn't necessarily
expensive?
give it. It's all relative, right? It depends with like how much information you're asking for. It's like a month long or 2 months, or like for the last 6 months. Of course, the more work they have to put into it will be expensive for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not all. It's I guess it's kind of a way to try and get. It's not an easy way of getting information. We make it easy for you to just give you all the information you need. So it's a process getting it, but they do give it to you at a price.
At a cost, yeah.
At a cost, and if you want to cut that cost, you just do these surveys and everything else by yourself on social media or however you can.
Got it. When it comes to the products, is it that Nakamat in this? So Nakamat is the largest supermarket in Kenya.
Yes.
Right? Is it that Nakamat have got loads of coconut milk and you're like, no offense, just another coconut milk company? Or is it that you're like defining this category? Is it that this is a new product and it's Kentaste, or is it that people are kind of used to the idea of coconut milk and coconut oil, but you're trying to do it better?
So the one thing is that we're the only local producers of it. Everything else that's on the shelf that's coconut is imported. So that's what we're trying to kind of build our economy. We're like all of our employees and everyone is all from like sourced, sorry.
You source
but just like a source your employees. No, but I mean, like, we kind of want to build our economy, and that's why we want to build like long-lasting and enduring relationships with our farmers, consumers across the board. So our product is local. It's authentic, purely Kenyan. Another thing is that the coconut oil, we are actually the only producers of coconut oil that's food grade. Everything else that you find on the shelf that's coconut oil is all for cosmetic use, and you can't use that for cooking. But for us, you can use ours for cooking as well as. So we're kind of bringing a different dynamic to our product. Yeah.
So on coconut oil, other offerers wouldn't sit in the food aisle. They'd have coconut oil in the...
No, so ours would be the only one that you would find in the food aisle.
Got it. And with the... so let's say like with the coconut cream, is this a thing where... How can I put it? Do people know what to do with coconut cream? Or do you need to sort of...
Okay, I'll tell you yes and no. A lot of people get confused. For the coconut cream and milk, there's so many ways that you can use it. Like primarily it is for cooking, but people use it for so many different things. You could find people using it on their hair as like hair treatment or, all these kinds of things, but they do know it is for consumption. So however they use it or not, there are different, like hundreds of ways that people can use it. But the main reason why they would is just to get that coconut flavor in their meals. And that's why you would buy it. Yeah.
Why are you the only guys in Kenya doing this? Why has it not been done before?
I would say it's not an easy business to kind of run and manage. Coconuts are, they're everywhere up and down the coast, but they go with seasons as well. There are certain times like there's absolutely no coconuts. Like farmers would come to you and tell you, I'm sorry, I have nothing for the next 2 weeks. And it's like, it's a really tough business to try and get into. I would say the main challenge would be just in general in the manufacturing business, trying to find a system that is managed well and kind of run professionally. Okay. Having to deal with, manufacturing companies, you have so many employees that you need to deal with, and inventory management and stuff like that, and all that can be a little tough.
I see. And so do the guys who run Kentaste, do they have that experience?
Yes. Most of them have like different, I would say not necessarily in food, like manufacturing food, but all kinds of manufacturing industries. That's where most of our employees have background in.
I see.
So that helps.
Got it.
Yeah.
And is it, you're basically turning coconuts into coconut products. What was happening to the coconuts before?
To be honest, I'm not really sure, because I grew up in Nairobi, but I have my grandparents who are from the coast, and whenever we go down there, they actually take the actual coconut and grate it themselves and get the milk and the oil, just do it themselves. So we thought, why not make it easier for everyone rather than trying to go through the process of doing it yourself? Just find everything in a can that's not that expensive and it's easier. So before, everybody would just use them at home, like for personal use, but it would only be like 1 or 2 coconuts a day per household. So most of them, I'm not really sure, to be honest, what people did with it.
But also, coconuts don't grow in Nairobi, I'm guessing.
They do in certain areas, but it's not the ideal weather for it or the climate for it. Yeah. They grow much better at the coast.
Much better at the coast. Very cool. And just on the employees, rough numbers, how many people are employed by Kentaste?
About 300.
Oh, right. And as you say, the company was started in 2012.
2012, yes.
What's that? Is that mainly operations? Is it mainly marketing?
Mainly operations. A lot of casuals.
I see.
A lot of that, yeah.
So how does sort of the casuals work?
They just come in every like I said, because there's sometimes seasons that come, so we prefer to have our employees paid by the day. So you come in today and you get paid for the day. You don't come in tomorrow, you don't get paid. Yeah. So only when like the need arises. But what we're trying to do is grow the company to the point that we have all of these employees contracted with Kentaste on like a full-time salary and not have to worry about to give all of our workers that security.
Got it. How long does it take to turn a coconut into a can of coconut milk?
Not long, hours actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So if you get, suddenly there's a harvest. Do you harvest coconuts?
Yes.
Yeah. So suddenly there's a boom harvest. You then suddenly say, right, we need to get these done. But then by lunchtime, they're in cans.
Yes. Within hours. Yeah. It would probably take, actually, no, I lied. That wasn't right. Hours in the sense that it's not that complicated to get the nut, squeeze out the water, and it's just like the time in between to kind of, you have to let it incubate for a little while, like the milk and cream, and to add like water and the like stuff like that will probably take a few hours, but still like within a day, we can roll out products like very fast. Nice. Yes, as long as we have the supply, like almost instantly. Yeah.
And so, are you finding? You said that sometimes there can be a couple of weeks when there's no coconuts.
Yeah.
Going forward, is that going to be the scenario?
It's hard. Yeah. It's hard for us to be able to manage that right now because it's all dependent on the weather and what happens. Like if it gets really if it's really heavy rains, it becomes impossible for the farmers to climb up the trees and get the nuts. So during like really rainy seasons, we do have less coconuts, and it's easier when it's not cold and rainy seasons. So it's really hard. Moving forward, it's been kind of all over the place and it's hard to manage. But we try to just like anytime we get coconuts, just try to save up as much as we can and just hopefully have.
Got it.
Yep.
So are these? I'm just trying to picture the farms. Is it sort of rows and rows and rows of coconut trees?
Most of these actually is just people who own land at the coast and happen to have coconut trees on their plots, and not like either they haven't decided to build on their land or do anything with the land, but they have the trees there and they can make money out of selling those coconuts.
And so, I mean, how much does a coconut sell for?
Anywhere between 12 to 15 shillings, depending on the demand and the season. Like if they're in season, probably go as low as 11 or 12, and when they're hard to find, probably 15.
Okay, and that's like 15 US cents.
Yes.
Yeah. Got
yes.
It. Okay, and then do they come to you or do you go to them?
They come to us.
They come to us, and they say, "I've got a bag full of."
Yes, they have. It depends. With for those who have really small quantities, they'll just bring them there. But they have others who have really big farms who just take them all to those little collection points that we have set up down the coast, and then we go there with our trucks and pick them up.
Awesome. And is the sort of, I would say, durability when you've got a can of coconut milk, how long have you got before it goes off?
Okay, so the shelf life for coconut milk is 2 years as long as it's in the can. But once it's opened, it'll last about 4 to 7 days, depending on if you refrigerate it, will last up to a week. But if you leave it out, not just only maybe a day, so you'd have to refrigerate it.
Okay. So we'll just do a few more questions. It's okay. I noticed that Kentaste doesn't reference coconuts in the name. Does that mean that is Kentaste only going to be a coconut company, or are you thinking what might it look like?
So what we're thinking is doing Kentaste. What we're going with the name is the Kenyan taste. So not just coconuts, but generally everything associated with Kenya and what the kind of fruits and veggies and stuff that we can possibly use to make healthy products. So what our main goal is to be just a producer of all natural products and not just coconuts. It could be anything. We're looking into venturing into making flour and stuff like that in the near future, but it not just coconuts. Yeah. So we just want to say Kentaste, just the taste of Kenya in different aspects. Yeah.
Okay. And if you were to fast forward the next sort of 6 months, 3 years or so, what does Kentaste look like?
We definitely want to develop a wider product range. Not just food. We want to venture into doing skincare products and all of that. Because the coconut oil has so many uses, so we don't want to limit ourselves to just doing a food grade product. We want to be able to produce baby oils, kind of scented a little, so it's not just purely coconut. So we make that difference here and there. Cosmetics, stuff like that.
And will this mainly be for a Kenyan market?
Both Kenyan and international.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to be able to sell it internationally, but also just be recognized as being a Kenyan product. Yes.
Can you buy Kentaste coconut milk outside of Kenya?
At the moment, no. We're only in Kenya right now, but we are venturing into Tanzania, Uganda, and Rwanda. We're hoping that by the end of this year, probably have covered at least part of East Africa, if not all of it.
Got it. And people who are listening at home, how can they buy Kentaste products, but also how can they follow the story of the company?
Buying is, we're in all major supermarkets and the small retail outlets. Literally, you will find us everywhere. We have our Kentaste website, Kentaste.com, where we load all of the different ways that you can use our product, the benefits that you can get from it, and all that. We have a social media page on Facebook and Instagram where we update every day on fun like coconut facts and how to live healthy. And
what's the latest fun coconut fact out of interest?
That you could use it on your animals, your pets, dogs. Yeah,
really?
Put a little bit of oil in their shampoo and helps. Makes their fur really smooth and kind of gets rid of. Sometimes animals can get like fleas or whatever, but coconut oil.
Magic.
Spray it in shampoo and yeah.
All right, cool. Cool. Well, Sakina, that's super interesting. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Before we head, just a quick moment to say thank you for listening. You can see the show notes of this episode by heading to samfloy.com/podcast and then searching for the episode title. That's samfloy.com/podcast. Now, a few people have got in touch and have been asking about how this podcast came about. And well, it all started when I took a one-way flight to Rwanda to seek out business opportunities across the region. I'm now at the stage of formulating a bit of a plan of the business I want to go into based on all of these podcast interviews, and we'll be keeping a record of what I get up to on my blog. And so if you're interested in being kept in the loop, you can sign up to the newsletter there. Again, it's samfloy.com. Also, if you have any questions, comments or feedback about the podcast, or indeed anything, please feel free to email me, podcast@samfloy.com, and I'd be very happy to chat. In any case, have a great week and speak to you soon.